it's only 12 seconds on there. You it was weird. It was stuck. It was slow motion. I'm trying to
Lynn, where are we?
I don't know, but we're real and raw with Lynn and Brian.
Right. Now I'm at home.
I'm Lynn Serrano. And who
Brian
are you?
Kelm. Brian Kelm.
Brian, it's so nice to see you.
It's our showtime.
That's right. It's showtime. The funny thing is how we were sitting there. We're just having a discussion about humility and vulnerability, and I'm like, we gotta go.
It's 11:59, and we're still thinking about it. Yeah.
That's why we tried not to talk beforehand. So I want to thank you and ask that you let us know where you're tuning in from.
Yeah.
We like to know that. Just say hi to us. We don't bite unless you do first.
To some people, it might be Thirsty Thursday. Otherwise, it might be Taco Thursday, or maybe that's Tuesday in your neck of the woods. But
yeah, and yesterday we were talking about who is one person you're empathizing or understanding with more. Yeah. Which, Brian, it's somebody said hi. So there we go. Our Sandy. We love you, Sandy. I think we missed her yesterday, didn't we not?
Just so you know, I got my little notebook sitting here, and we are going to be knocking on your door for an upcoming show or two. So.
Oh, yeah. Don't scare her now.
Well, she's going to be running for the hills.
I know. Who's one person empathizing and understanding more? See, that's kind of what you and I talked for seconds before we started the show. I had said something about humility and me being humble in a situation. And then, of course, you were talking work-wise. I was just talking as far as being human. And Sandy says she's scared. Sandy.
No. I saw you go live yesterday. I just tuned in for a couple seconds, but you went live all by yourself yesterday. So come on now.
Yes. Hi, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Thanks for being here. Oh, these are my peeps. I love them coming out like this. So, but I was talking about who is the one person empathizing and understanding with more. And I was telling you what we were talking about before the show is I was like, to me, humility is like, if, here I knew Brian's dad passed away and I'm like, yeah, okay, sorry that happens and blah, blah, blah. And I have no, it doesn't mean anything to me and I can't understand his pain. But then I have my mom pass away and then I come back more humility, more humble to Brian and say, you know what, Brian, sincerely, I had no idea the impact that had on you until I did. So that's the humility I was explaining on my terms. Yeah. And then you were talking about work. So we were kind of.
Well, and my perception of that was compassion, love, support, care. That's not how humility shows up for me.
Right. But humility but you see, the thing is, though, is if I come to you because I felt this about my friends that were parentless growing up, okay, I had like no concept of it. When I come to you that way, humility is I'm being humble to say to you, I truly I wasn't compassionate with you before,
But humility only exists for those that feel it.
Right.
Just because somebody says they feel like they're giving humility and offering, that doesn't mean it's perceived to the one that it's for.
Yeah, that's true too. So there's all debates and all sorts of stuff. So yeah. So anyways, that was that. But now we're going to talk about vulnerability and transparency, a deep dive. So you guys, if you have questions or you want to get into into the stuff with us, go for it. I don't know. I said mustard. I don't even care for mustard. Dijon I like, but regular
I like some honey mustard.
Yeah, Dijon is honey mustard, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
I think kind of, sort of.
I'm thinking of Grey Poupon. Grey Poupon.
Oh, Grey Poupon. That's. Anyways.
We're filled with randomness today. I love it.
You see, it's because Lynn's got color in her face again.
Wow, we haven't beat our time. I think within the first 20 seconds is our record, and we're at 4 minutes. So
we're getting back to the radar. Oh my goodness!
Did you order that pizza last night?
No, I didn't. I should order that freaking pizza, huh?
Well,
I gotta be in the mood for it. But yeah, you're right. They better give me my $25 credit.
They aren't gonna remember that because you didn't call them out when you had the time to.
I know. Yeah, stay tuned about the sliced pizza. I know. Maybe I'll order tonight. Yeah, I'll order it tonight and see what happens. I should order at a busy freaking Friday night.
I don't know if it has to get negative, but it's like In the moment of when you had that upset, you didn't do anything about it.
Yeah. We're talking about pizza, a thin crust pizza that came to me burnt. And they're like, oh, we'll give you $25 credit. And Brian said I should have demanded them to make me a new one.
Well, not demand, but request, like, okay, that $25 credit is great, but I'm still hungry now.
Yeah.
What is my taste buds and my appetite going to evaporate just because my pizza's burnt? No.
So listen, if I call you tonight on the phone and I say, hey, we got a three-way here, I can just let you have it.
Okay, so we're talking pizza, right? Just to be clear. I couldn't resist.
Oh, shit.
Speaking of color, look at her face now.
Oh my God. Talk about vulnerability and transparency.
Wow, what a great way to kick off the show. Ooh, is it getting hot in here?
Oh my goodness. I was very vulnerable yesterday and I'm being transparent today, but okay. So the deep dive. What's your vulnerability and transparency on this topic?
I think that for each of us, we need to define what it is, and for each of us, what it is. And, we always have these things, in my opinion. Now, these are just, and if you're watching this and, in the replay, be thinking to yourself, like, where are you more times than not? What's up, Jerry?
Jerry,
wow.
Yeah, we are. We're cracking up here, being goofs.
Thanks for the generous comment.
No, and I won't eat the burnt ones.
Non-burnt ones. Okay.
Yes, I did. I was goodness. Like Brian said, I was hungry.
Well, what the guy didn't realize at the pizza place is that do you see the absence here, or do you see what's missing? I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, vulnerability and transparency. This is very important to me because this is something I took to 2019 and fully devoted my life towards understanding it, going deep on myself with it, and really getting to a space where I'm uncomfortable everywhere in my life. And then that's where I need to be. And so this goes really personal, and there's no comparison here. It's just a matter of like, what areas of your life do you face where you're either being more vulnerable and transparent, and only each person knows what that is for them. So that's why it's special. That's why it's different for everybody. And if we can just move that needle a little bit. So vulnerability shows up for me where, self-doubt. I can't do it. How am I going to do it? How are people going to view me? Right? Transparency is that I'm being fully open, real, raw, as our show says, no pun intended, but just fully honest and authentic. Yeah. And the more that has been practiced, the more it is black and white to me in my brain and in my heart that I'm either being vulnerable or transparent. I don't necessarily know, at least in my experience, if you can be both. I think you're either one or the other. Because if you're vulnerable, you don't know what it's going to look like, and you might be scared or fearful. But if you're transparent, there's a certain identity that you have about yourself and how you feel about yourself, that you got this, or you're not going to be denied whatever you're up to. So that's what those two hemispheres look for me.
Well, I think for me, it always starts out with vulnerability to be transparent. Absolutely. So yes, they're different, but they're not the same, but they're different. Yep. But it depends. Like, if we're in a topic and I'm like, okay, can I be transparent about it? Then I'm like, I'm going to be transparent about it. Yep. But then I'm like, this is a vulnerable situation, because I'm like, I'm walking into that lion's den saying, oh shit, I'm gonna just tell it how it is. But it's also the vulnerability to say, okay, and you've noticed, and if you were in the clubhouse, you'd really notice, but you'll notice though, sometimes I'm telling a story and I'll be transparent, but then I get very vulnerable about it. And it's mostly, this year is my vulnerability year. That's my word this year. So as far as vulnerability is, at 55, I kept a lot of things inside, internally till I was 41, 44. And that's when it just started spewing out. And so transparency is something that, if you're going to be transparent, you need to be transparent not only on your portion of your story, but the story of everyone around you.
Yeah.
And because like you said, there's this side story, that side of story, and then the facts. And I always keep that in mind in things. So if you ever want to tell a story, be vulnerable or transparent, you need to let all the people that are supposed to be part of that story or that situation and portray to the best of your knowledge, be as transparent as far as how it was handled. And if you're not being vulnerable to say, I've also too got to realize and profess that my bad part in it, you know, that's where the transparency, but also the vulnerability, because you got to tell on your own self. You just can't half-ass tell your rendition, because somebody else can come along and tell their rendition. And then you got those two stories, and then you got the facts.
Right.
So to me, for my personal clarification and to be on point with vulnerability and transparency, I tell the story the way it is, even if it's not my portion of it, because I don't want it to be said that, but you don't understand the way she was acting or this or that. And I'll give the example back in the day after I almost died, and I was happy to be alive, and I was home with my kids, and I was just so excited and joyous. And my husband was trying to get me angry, and I wouldn't be angry. And he just decided, pick up the phone, call the cops. I go, what are you doing? He's like, well, so the rest of the story is he was trying to be a little bit forceful to have me go in the bedroom. And I said, dude, I'm not going there. And so he decided he was going to call the cops and say I shook my daughter. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So the vulnerability is that I took it personal, that I'm like, I'm not nuts. This is what he's doing. And yet the transparency is that haunted me. That story and that situation haunted me for a lot of years. But I can still say, if I would have shook my daughter, she wouldn't be the talented most everything now. I mean, there's proof that I didn't shake my daughter, but it was what was said. So, you know, again, you've got to tell the story for how it is, for how it was, and let the chips fall where they may, you know?
Well, and
so
as I was looking down here, I was just writing a couple phrases that just come to mind that really speak to me when it comes to each of these. For vulnerability, it's, so what does Heather have to say here?
Yes.
You've been very open and vulnerable so far this year. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. Fist bump. Fist bump. Fist bump.
Well, you know, I feel that before I just felt that I was to be seen, not heard. I also didn't realize that it was selfish for me to not realize, Lynn, you're not the only ones that have gone through this shit.
Right.
And there's other people that are not as far as you are in your self-development, that they need to know that there's somebody that got out on the other side, and those thoughts don't control me no more. But if I have so many people that have influenced me and helped me by me seeing their story or them getting out of their comfort zone to do things, has given me the ability to do it. So I need to pay it forward for somebody else that's in my shoes.
Yep.
So now it's not the vulnerability at first is, you know, you get 55, you get in habits, man, and breaking the habit of saying, Lynn, you need to tell that story, you know? Right. And so I realize, and when I find seems to be the hardest, I definitely know that I'm like, no, this is what I got to do. Whether I'm, you know, feel shamed or vulnerable about it, I'm doing it. I got to do it. You know, it can't hurt me anymore. It can't define me anymore. So,
Heather
so
says,
thank you.
You've been very open and vulnerable. Yeah. Okay.
So thank you.
Absolutely. So the two phrases that come to mind for each of these, just in my head about how this shows up, is vulnerability is, this is me, quote unquote. Like, you know, maybe like with a little kind of a little uncertain demeanor, like, this is me, you know, like you're not sure of things, right? You're going into the deep end when you don't even know what the depth of the pool is, right? Or the water level. And then transparency is, this is what I'm taking a stand for. It's much more defined. It's much more focused. You don't care what other people think about you, right? Now, what it's not meant to do is make anybody wrong. Any of that, you're just very clear and precise about what you're there for and what you're there to do. Like you've done the self-work to flush all that out, right? And you're not negotiable with these things. I think that what happens a lot of times is, because when you're, in my opinion, in my experience, the more fully transparent you become, and the more this is your viewpoint and you're strong for that, there's going to be people that are going to not agree with it, and you're not going to know what to do. But it doesn't mean that there has to be an argument or a disruption. It's just that we don't agree on the same stuff, and that's okay, right? Because what happens is that I don't think that somebody can be fully transparent, but they are influenced by somebody else's, input or whatever, instead of having a firm ground that here's where I stand. That's it,
Well, I'm glad you say this, because I had a conversation last night with somebody that said to me, so Lynn, where are you going with your shows? What are you doing? And I mean, some friends are like, why aren't you monetizing? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I said, it might be half-assed backwards, but it's just like, and girls can relate to this, but it's just like when you were thin, you thought you were fat. When I was a lot more perfect in how I talked before I had all these neurological and brain injuries and all this stuff, it's like I don't let any of those be excuses. I don't even like bringing them up, not to hide them, but not to be defied or labeled by them, right? But somebody said, what's your end goal here? And I said, my end goal is to show up every day, to give passion of celebrating people, sharing people's stories and lives, going deep with Brian, and to just bring laughter to the world with Bubba. I mean, it's just, I'm just evolving, and that's all I want to do this year, is just be vulnerable, transparent. I know I'm not going to be the same person by next January. I definitely won't be, by no means, for a lot of reasons.
Right.
And I'm just so grateful, because that's what we should be doing here. We should be at least getting to our challenging our own selves. And I have lots of challenges, man.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had challenges before, but I have a lot of challenges, and I'm going to be vulnerable with them. I confessed to Catherine, my other show, like, I'm Latina. I could dance before. I mean, like, I could kick ass dance. But now I laugh when I watch me dance, because I've got arthritis through my whole freaking body, right? And sometimes I realize those hits, they don't lie. They shake, but they don't they don't jive the way they used to, man. So, but I'm still gonna shake it. I'm gonna probably die when I do some of those on TikTok. I'm dying just thinking about it. But I gotta push myself out of that, because from a year from now, when I do lose some weight, I could really be happy that I did that. That's gonna be so freaking vulnerable for me, you guys. And so, just like being on a stage over 500 people, I mean, it's just so that's being vulnerable, okay? That's putting all my shit out there, okay?
Right.
And like you said, when people don't understand or they judge, they're going to judge, what they don't understand.
Well,
so the transparency is that I'm trying to evolve and let that be recorded of my transformation. And that's all I can say.
And it's like the only person you should have to answer to is yourself, and what's inside of your heart.
Yeah.
What does it tell you? Right.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody have a roadmap about what this looks like? This thing we call life, or this thing called video and live streams? No. We don't know where it's going to be. No. We don't know if new platforms are going to open up or what it's going to look like. We have absolutely no idea. Right. Yep. But we show up every day and we figure it out.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a combination of vulnerability and transparency, because vulnerability means you don't know what it's going to look like. The transparency is that you're going to hang your head standing high and you're going to put in the work.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to life, I mean, I think we're both in agreement that you can't have one without the other. I think that life is a combination of vulnerabilities and and where you become transparent. And I think it's just all the time, the more things that we conquer in life and the more things that we achieve, we're transparent about them, but then there's another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing. Right now, to those people that for whatever reason are not up to much, because there's three different types of people in the world: those that make it happen, those that watch it happen, and those that don't know what's happening, and so 2/3 of those people aren't really doing much. They're not moving the world forward. They're not making a difference. Right. And it's interesting that there's also a possibility of three different responses: something, nothing, or complaint. Right. So why are people that are just in the way holding people back from where they really need to be? It's just noise, and it's unfortunate when people get influenced by that because their transparency may not be as firm as what they want it to be. Obviously everybody's experience is going to be different, but going through my near-death car accident and then witnessing my dad pass away, it's been an emergence for many years of me getting back to my core after my very heartbreaking, relationship ending, and getting back to my core prior to meeting her, where I was very straightforward, really direct, and just being myself. And life can look that simple if you want it to be. At least it's shown up that way for me.
So what's your vulnerability? I mean, what do you try to push yourself to show your vulnerability?
Yeah.
Most of the times, or do you get be the hard edge, tough guy you like to portray sometimes, Mr. Teddy Bear?
Yeah, I look like a teddy bear, 6'3".
That's right.
But no, but where I really am vulnerable is seeing the good in other people and like in my industry, for instance, I see so much potential and effort and doing great things in other people, but it's hard for me to hold back and have a tenderness about consider this stuff, right? I can see why you're not getting from point A to point B, but I can't spoon feed it to you without you doing the work, and I'm vulnerable about being an asshole, pardon my French, or that was pretty brash, or that was too confronting. And it's like, hey, I'm just giving you the straightforward, here's the deal. No sugarcoating. That's not me. I don't sugarcoat anything because that's not how I learned, right? If you want the outcome, you got to freaking do the work, period. And it's so many of these things in life are about like just trying to find the magic pill now until the next question comes up or until the next thing you have to confront in life. And I don't want to live that way. No. It's kind of like somebody that has a physical ailment, for instance, right? How many times does that pain have to get excruciating before you do something about it? Or you go to the emergency room or whatever, right? Same thing here. Why not take care of it right away, be vulnerable, do the necessary work, and then have that experience and that knowledge, for the rest of your life. So I am vulnerable that I'm going to be the standout guy. I'm going to be the outcast. I'm going to be the guy that's going to say things that nobody else will say. Now, I'm doing it after they prompt me. They ask my opinion. So then if they ask my opinion, it's kind of like somebody giving somebody a critique and they didn't ask for it. Well, that's not cool, right?
No.
I mean, it's one thing if it's a suggestion and the tone and, if it's in a conversational environment, but it's like, here's what you did wrong. That's going to get people on the defensive right away. Yeah. So where I'm vulnerable with is when I put something out there for people and they're either not in the frame of mind to listen to it or hear it, but then when it comes back again and again and again, that gets a little old for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and like you said before, if you don't want to take action, don't ask for a solution.
Right. I mean you're everything about your performance skills and in like in my business about outcomes and how are we going to create that is not in the talking about it, right?
Well, good example. You're either going to go to a module and learn how to do it or figure it out yourself. Correct. Just using that as an example. Well,
and
don't ask.
Well, the way this day and age works is that, okay, a lot of these things are symptoms of a greater thing that's lacking or a thing that's missing, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody like for instance, like in sales, okay, if somebody has a common objection that comes over and over and over again, consider it's not the objection, consider that the foundation is off, right?
Yeah.
That the symptom is just what you see, but the root of it is much deeper. And
absolutely, that
involves a course, some training to put yourself out there and to actually freaking do the work.
Yeah. I know. How many times we're going to drive that in, Coach?
Trust me. I got to be cautious about my words here, but I've said I let it all out for, you know, some things I'm a part of to a group of people, just because it's like, man, come on, you know,
Yeah.
we all have struggles to overcome, but I'm a realist to believe, what are you going to do about it? Like, it's very easy to deflect a question, you know, like, and like, hey, here's my bundle of questions, you figure it out and then report back to me, and then I will like what I like, and then I'll just disregard what I don't like. And of course, what they're going to do is they're going to find the easy stuff and disregard the hard stuff, right?
Yeah. Do the
But
work.
then it keeps coming back. And for me, I don't live that way. If it,
Yeah.
you know, kind of like that pain, like if you've got, you know, foot pain or something, you know, every time your foot, you know, tells you a little sign, it's like, ooh, yeah, I need to get that checked out. How long is it
Yeah.
going to be where you actually do
Well,
something about it?
yeah, unless you have chronic pain, and then you're kind of SOL, because they're just like, they want you to pop pills, and I don't do pop pills.
Right.
So, but I'm just saying, I just coming from a different standpoint on that, but not that it's any concrete. But I'm just saying, for me, that one doesn't work. But I totally hear what you're saying, and I totally agree that you're either going to put up with the stuff, or you're going to do something about it.
And here's another part that I'm a vulnerable, and I might just be repeating my words, so I apologize if I am, but it's
No
like
need to apologize.
caring so much about somebody's wellness and succeeding, that if I, you know, and I don't care if it's even my advice, I could really care less, is that they do something about it.
Yeah.
Looking at somebody from a distance, that shows their character, that shows that they hear somebody and they're willing to be vulnerable to try it.
Well, and put it this way, if you're going to keep complaining, that's why I try not to complain about my stomach issues or this or that,
Right.
because in the sense that people don't want to hear the same excuse or the same thing you're going through.
Right.
And, you know, I try to be very mindful of that. Sometimes I think Tracy's always there to help me. Just, I call a friend and try to get out of my own brain, because I can't do nothing about it. I just got to deal with it. But again, you don't bring it up if you're not dealing with whatever you're going through. You got to try to do something different about it. So
No,
yeah.
I have to be completely honest with everybody, is that how I came across this is by going through what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everything I learned and went through and recovered from has brought me to this place. You know, because of my anxiety and depression, I don't need more complexity in my life. I don't need more confusion. There's enough going, like, as you know, Lynn, you know, we suffer from anxiety and depression. The more stuff you put up here, the less we actually make sense out of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that's, you got to do something to take care of that. If not, it's going to overpower you and have such a control. And we can relate to that. And like you said, you're either going to still stay in that mindset to be depressed and deal with that, or, you know, if you're going to poop right there, you can keep smelling it and deal with it, or you're going to move from there and find another spot. You know, it just, you know, don't be stuck in the poop. Just move on, move your groove.
You know, and I just, you know, after one of the major, if I was able to trigger a major moment of my life where that actually happened, was when I broke up with my ex, and really had to dive myself out of, man, so much inactivity and all that.
How long ago was that?
That was, we broke up in officially in 18. But that was at least 2 years. You know, it seemed like it was like 2 years in the making of all this thinking that just built up. And, you know, my identity and my self-expression was being muted little by little. It was being minimized. And I didn't even know about it, because the relationship and keeping it together was a lot better than, oh crap, we're going to break up, I'm going to have to, you know, move and do all these kinds of things. But looking back at that time, it made me what I am today. And I'm feeling like I was in 2014 prior to meeting her.
Yeah.
That I'm rock solid in my mind. I'm rock solid in what I'm here for, and loving people so much, but being very, very simple in my life about what I will tolerate, what I won't, and then just doing my thing with no drama.
Yeah, my life took a turn with my mom 5 years ago, and it's just like I'm finally getting out of that. And I'm like, shit, it took me 5 years just to get back to my core. And it really is bad when you allow a crack in the foundation to actually be a hole that you can't get out of, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where if you are vulnerable enough to say, look, this is where you fell, and love yourself where you're at, man, and just let it go. And you know, I think I think that's why that TikTok thing for me is going to be vulnerability, because man, when I see these chunky thighs trying to dance, I'm going to be like, who the hell is this person? I'm already freaked out, but you know, it is what it is. I hope I'm not mean to myself, you know, and say, Lynn, you know, it doesn't defy me. The outside, it doesn't defy my spirit, is what I tell myself. Plus the fact that other people that make me look skinny can go out there and do it.
Right.
I admire them. That's vulnerability on their part. But had they not gone first and done that, I don't think I would be able to have the kahunas and be transparent like they are. So I commend that. And that's why I said, if there's something that you see somebody else can do and it touches you, you need to pay that forward to do that for somebody else. And I can't stress that enough, people. You've got to.
And the fortunate part of, or the unfortunate part about this is that we're the ones that are telling ourselves what we can and can't do.
That's right.
Usually nobody else is, unless we hear that and don't disregard it. As, you know, if we internalize it, we make what somebody else is viewing what we should do our own thought, which it's not, if we allow it to happen.
Right. And I'm saying to myself, Lynn, you walk out of your house, people see you anyways. Lynn, you may not dance like you used to, but who cares? The funkiest, the most goofiest dances, I love that in them. It makes me laugh. It makes me smile. So I'm like, it's going to be for a laugh, and you'll laugh too. So that's why I should do it. The vulnerability's there. I'm going to be transparent, okay? But the vulnerability will be freaking, that's going to be rough. And I might even have the kahunas to share here for those that are not on TikTok. Might have the kahunas. Besides, I had kahunas to show you my exercise. One thing goes like that. It can't be any worse.
Well, that was recorded, so that's a step. But I think we can update that. We got to go to live with that. Live with Lynn on location at the dance club.
Actually, we might just want to throw little crumbs out there and tell people what we're doing next week.
Nah, let's wait.
No? Okay. All right. Okay.
No. We'll have to give people a couple days, though, to prepare if they'd like to partake in this experience, like full on, like deep dive with us.
Yeah, with the recipes and everything.
Yet, if we can.
Okay, all right. He won't let me. He's a stickler, you guys. He won't let me spill the beans about next week. No. All right.
We talked for 2 hours yesterday with a certain someone about this, and
okay. All right.
It's like improv. You know what I mean? Improv wouldn't be improv if like your instructor said, "Hey, okay, here's what we're gonna do next week."
Yeah, I know, but
how often you do these exercises?
Okay, but you know what? All I could say is I might get a little vulnerable then.
Join the club. What we were talking about, do you really think I really thought through everything that I came out of my mouth yesterday after our show?
I don't know, but we're going to run with it, buddy.
I got notes. Yeah. And also, this doesn't lie, to be completely honest. This doesn't lie. So,
yeah. So
we're question for you is that where do you feel right now in your life that you're being fully transparent? What comes to mind?
Well, just being on here.
Okay.
Lighten up, you two. Cheers. Hey, Charles.
What's up, buddy?
Well, where being transparent is that I don't have all the answers yet with my production and what I'm going to be doing and the vision I have with what I'm learning and what I'm creating. Mm-hmm. But what I'm being transparent is I don't have all the answers, but I am taking action. Mm-hmm. To me, what's important is to be transparent that even if I don't want to, and even last week when I was sick, and I was pretty sick. I was pretty pale. Just go look at the videos. Mm-hmm. But, just being transparent to show up, like everybody says, I'm showing up. Okay. I'm showing up despite challenges. And what's transparent is, me accepting and being vulnerable and being transparent about my health issues and the fact that, okay, so I can't bench press the way I could because I have herniated discs and bulging discs and I got to be careful.
Okay.
But, I'll still move or do this or that. It's just like my body's like a mine right now. It's like, don't move it this way because then you're going to get. So yesterday when I couldn't enunciate, it's because I pulled and moved something and carried it a certain way, and it tugs in my nerves in my neck, which affects my neurological speaking. So it's like, shit, okay, if I got to talk, I better be nicer. It's just, but the challenges are great because it's no excuse not to try to propel forward. Mm-hmm. And I think that's at the end, what's going to make me tougher is that when I go through this and people are asking me for advice or this or that, and they have similar things, I can relate, but I definitely will not be, as empathetic as I once was, because I was like, you know what, it's challenging, but I did it. I know you can too. Mm-hmm. So I think that gives me more ability to say I was transparent and, and move forward. I have a hard time when I hear people talking about excuses anymore. And it's not for what they're saying to me, but it's the excuses that I have been giving myself. It makes it apparent. Boy, I used to have those excuses too, kind of thing. So
there's that you touch on something that really goes to my core. That's not negotiable anymore. And it might be all the, books I've, read about, I was never in the military, but I have some family members that were, and just about how they can dedicate their whole life to one word, such as honor or integrity. And there is no margin of error what they do, but also though they don't, there's no blame and excuses if you're going to be successful in that environment. And so one of the things that I learned over the past couple of years is removing anybody that's around me knows this. You remove excuses and blame from your vocabulary.
I did that a lot, even when I was high risk pregnancy with all my kids, especially after losing my son. Okay. And, it was the point where I was supposed to be bedridden every time. And it was terrible, but I'm like, I can drag the laundry over here and I can fold half fast. I just felt like I would try to do, they want you to coddle yourself so much. And I'm not used to coddling myself, even when I need to, because to me, your mind can help you move and do things that you need to. I don't give in to the whole prescription of you can't do this and you can't do that. Okay, and then when I get a pain or a tug, I'm like, okay, I back off a little. But to me, it's just so hard because I have that in my head. There is no excuses. There's just no excuses.
No, I want to ask you this question to see if we're kind of in line with this, with our thinking. Is that, do you see from your point of view that when people have an excuse or a piece of blame, is that they haven't done the inner work first? They're looking for external help before they've actually taken on whatever they're dealing with internally first, and then take it out to the world?
Well, I think with anything, it's like if you were a hypochondriac, if you're going to believe everything you're told you can't do, right, then you don't know what you can do. Yep. And so, with my condition, I should already have a feeding tube. I don't. I mean, okay. And it's something that eventually happened with the thinning of my throat and all this other stuff. But what I'm saying is I don't allow the diagnosis of gastroparesis to define me. I haven't. I don't choose to. But I'm in a gastroparesis groups, and all these people are, they're staying with the destiny of where you're going to go. And I've had this disease way longer than I knew, 30 years, I officially diagnosed 5 years ago, and it's been a challenge. But what I'm saying is I believe that if you do not go outside the perimeter and see what your limitations are, or don't take what limitations are told to you and make them yours. Right. Don't use that as an excuse not to coddle yourself. I think you'd be in a worse situation if I would have followed their advice. And so what I'm saying to you is that I listen to myself and I have the will that, look, I can try to do this much or that much. And being vulnerable is you do have to say, okay, there comes like good example, my asthma. I can't walk where there's even just a little smoke fire or here or there. All of a sudden I can't breathe. So I have to realize, well, Lynn, you only can do this so much. So then either take an inhaler, back down, but I push it. I'll still go to that campfire. I'll still stay there until I know I need to get out of there. I'm not going to say, sorry, I can't go camping because I can't, I can't go do marshmallows with you because of the smoke. I mean, like, whatever. I just don't stay with the limitations that medically have been told. I've never done that. I have been a little bit as far as COVID. I mean, I do watch my granddaughter, so I'm around people, possibility, but I don't try to put myself totally out there. But, I think it's really important to know. I say to myself, Lynn, you're going to die when you're going to die, so don't be fearful of many things. I mean, I've gone through a lot of things. I've had to just trust God and know and let it be. But again, I don't live by all the labels and things that confine me, because it makes life quality be something unbearable. So you just gotta know your limitations. It's humbling though. My daughters know they've watched me, so they know, they'll say, Mom, you can't do that, or this, or, because I forget, because I don't choose to remember all those things.
Right.
I forget to ask the simple things that can make a big difference in my life, like that, because I like to not think I have asthma or gastroparesis or anything, or arthritis. Like, I ain't got that stuff. Until I stand up from here after 2 hours, I'm like, oh shit. It takes me a little while to get up, but you shouldn't be sitting down for that long when you have arthritis. But again, you do what you got to do, and you just go from there. And that's how life should be. You should, I just be nicer to myself and say, this is where I'm at. And it's like, okay, it's time to do some yoga poses. And then I'm better once I do some exercise. So it's all good.
As Jeffrey Gitomer once said, don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can.
What you can. That's right.
And, like in a wedding environment, just set the stage here a little bit, like with a venue, right? Bride and groom choose a venue, and their parents, perhaps, if they're involved in the decision-making process, they choose this venue, and it doesn't come out until after everything is hunky-dory and they're working together. It's like, oh, what they didn't know as far as what you can do here and what you can't do here. And to me, it's a combination of, unethical, along with just not being transparent with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like here, instead of telling me what we can't do, which is all the past, right? Because there's a reason why you can't do it, because it's failed miserably and, who knows what. Tell me what I can do. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it moving forward versus, whatever somebody else did has no bearing on me. I wasn't here. I didn't ruin the place or whatever.
But that makes sense. You need to know what you can do, because you don't want to get lost in focusing on what you can't do, because you're going to do what you can't do, because that's what you're focusing on.
And to kind of tie it back in with what you said yesterday about somebody you talked to about monetization, it's interesting of like, without even knowing who it is, it's like, okay, if they view what you're doing in monetization, that's the first thing that came to their mind. Okay, why did they say that?
Yeah.
Like we talked about in our other show, is about understanding why, why is that point of view relevant? Now, it's important because it's theirs, but help me understand why that's what comes to mind when you think of live streaming or do these shows.
Yeah, and I think some people are trying to knock it, going, what are you truly getting out of it? And I'm like, I'm getting experience out of it. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm trying to give people value and just another way of looking at things, and to just be an example to those that would like to have the kahunas to come out and do a podcast,
Well,
which, by the way, if you guys are watching, if you want me to help you produce a podcast, I'm here for you. Just reach out, and I think I might offer the first 5 people to produce.
Oh my
and I'll
gosh.
put that on my.
What a gift! What
yeah,
a gift.
and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to.
Okay, Lynn?
Yes, I am feeling okay.
Sure?
I think yes, I'm feeling okay. I feel like if I help 5 people, I was going to say 10, but even if I started out with 5 people producing their shows, one, what I'll get out of it is experience producing somebody's show. 2, I'll get hopefully their testament, their review on what they thought about me doing it. Right. And then maybe that's all monetize on the side. Okay. Will that make other people happy? I ain't worried about it. But well, Heather, bring it on, girl. I'd be happy to co-host.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Go Heather. Woo.
Yep. So, but again, it's I'm honing in on my skills. I'm enjoying this a lot. Am I getting more comfortable? Yes and no. Yes, because I think it's going to challenge me to have more kahunas, to even be more outside the box, and not be afraid of the expansion.
I have no idea how to do it. That's beautiful. Yeah,
well,
that's perfect, Heather.
Yep, Heather. I'll. You know what? We're gonna produce a show for you. Damn it. You're the first one. You see, that's what you get for watching my show.
And trust me, Heather, I don't know who you are, but I'm sure Lynn will allow me to hold you accountable to that, because I'm good at that. Because people hold me. I have coaches that hold me accountable to big things. If you're up for it, I'll hold you to that too. Because obviously, when it's a matter of integrity, whatever comes out of somebody's mouth is either going to deliver on that or they're not. You two would be so.
Oh, there you go.
It would be our honor.
Yes. See, that's what we want to do. Is we want to impact people's lives, and that we have no hidden agenda. We just truly, truly want to give, and even if this show always just helps one person, it makes our hearts and soul happy.
Heather, you're the definition today of our discussion in terms of vulnerability, transparency. There's distinctions between each.
Yeah.
And it's like vulnerable means you're unsure. You don't know what it's going to look like, how you're going to sound, how you're going to look, all of that. But the transparency is that you're welcome. I'm telling you stuff. Oh, wonderful. Woo. Yeah. Give us fist bumps. Fist bumps, Heather. There you go. So the transparency part about it is that you're following your heart. You're envisioning something. I don't know what that is, but that's calling you to do that, and you don't care about anything else. It's like you're driven to only see what you envision or who you can help or your topics, right? There's something that's driving you, and that transparency is driving you more than the vulnerability, because that's why you emerge and do it. So kudos to
you. She did the fist bumps. Yeah.
Well, so Lynn, there was something that also, though, I just thought about too, is that when you were talking to that person, about where they talked about money, and I think it's really important to bring up is that in their eyes, what you're up to is about money. Okay, that's cool for them to think that, but that's not your measurement.
Right.
Your measurement is happiness, fulfillment. This is where you need to be. All of it, right? Yeah. Compassion, to be a coach, to be an advisor, all of that is why you're doing it. And then, just like anything, Thomas Edison wouldn't have created the light bulb after all the trials that he did if he was only concerned with money.
Yep. Exactly.
And the money shows up, if that's what somebody's measure is, that shows up in time. But let your passion be known first. Let your zone of genius be known first, and then you're doing it regardless if you get paid. That's the true space you need to be in.
Yeah. And I'm loving it. I mean, I'm getting my rhythm, how I produce this show, I do my first show and announcement, then I get this one going. And I mean, I'm just getting pretty damn good at producing these shows. And I mean, it's no extra work for me. I'm just loving it. And, I struggle during the day sometimes, but a little piece of paper and what I'm going to plan to do. I think I've been doing pretty good, huh, Brian?
You have. I mean, you're a great co-host. We always communicate. Nothing is off limits for us to talk about. And it's, one thing to Heather, make sure, let us know in the comments if you can be with us next Saturday night. It's something that we want to make sure you're a part of, and we'll give everybody more information. That's awesome. Lynn, you're her inspiration.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, but I'm so glad to hear that.
So we're not ready to reveal the beans yet.
Aw.
Sandra, learning from you. Absolutely.
Mwah.
We're not ready to release all the information because we want to build up some anticipation. But Heather and Sandra, if you can be with us next Saturday night.
Oh, you see, I was trying to tell you guys just a little bit about next Saturday night.
Nope.
Oh, but look what he did. He goes and starts.
But see, I know you a little bit, and I knew what angle you're going to take. But I think this just kind of
hooks it.
Yeah, just a little bit, but without like, ooh, he's just really sidestepping that bad boy.
Yeah, I guess. That's so exciting. So exciting. But seriously, you guys, vulnerability in the comfort zone. I've got videos from last year and the year before.
Yep.
You know, it took me a while. I'm not going to lie. It took me a long while to get out of my own way. And really, that's what it is. Getting out of your own way in your head, letting the naysayers, the people that weren't behind you, surrounding yourself around the people that do support you or that speak your language or that are doing the things you want to do. Those are the super, super important things in order to get where you want to go. Let's see here. What's this? Sure, Lynn. Send me the info and I'll do my best to be there. Okay. Time and place. Let us know. Okay. We got two victims. We got two people. Anyway.
Oops, did you let it slip?
No, I didn't slip anything.
Victims. Wow.
That
she
was
meant to say visitors. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You're right. That's the right word. Visitors. Yeah. But seriously, you guys.
See what I did there? I created
it's like, look at that. Our show's almost over. How awesome is the fact that this evolved to our vulnerability into, can we ask that question a little earlier here? Because I think
sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Post it up there. Yeah.
So the question we have for yourself, go ahead.
Yeah. Ask yourself, are you more vulnerable or transparent in life? Knowing that it's a delicate valley between, depending on what it is specifically that you're dealing with, from one thing to the next, are you more vulnerable or transparent in life? Like if you were to say, given my whole life day to day, am I more transparent or am I more vulnerable? Do I have more things on my to-do list or do I cross them off because I get them done? Am I reaching a potential I want to reach for the things I want to get done? Or is my list getting longer because I'm not taking those actions and overcoming those fears you have?
Can I just say that the fact that I've been spending more time being vulnerable, I feel better once it's done and released.
Yep.
And, the fear, which also can be equivalent to excitement, really grounds me after I realized, Lynn, you said that, you did that, you're okay. And you never know how people are going to receive anything you say.
Correct.
So if you do it in the right light, context, and with the right heart and love, even if they don't receive it the right way, that's okay, because in time, they just might receive it the right way.
Yep.
But that does not defy you to stop yourself from saying what you need to say. And Glenn Morshower the other day, and he said a few times, but it's really hitting me to where I'm claiming it at my own, is the whisper. You know how he talks about the whisper. Mm-hmm. And, I like that better than saying intuitive, empath, all these things. I just, intuitively this or that, but it's the whispers in our, in our mind that really guide us to places that reach out of our comfort zone to go exactly where we belong. Mm-hmm. And to find the people that you resonate with. And that's been evolving since I met Ken Walls and since I had the kahunas to get out of my way, to get on a stage. And, Ken can tell you I was the first one to take his course. And it was not because I wanted it. It's because I just believed in him. I wanted to support him. And he was like, really? Like, he was so excited when he told me he had a course and he told me the price. I said, okay. And he goes, really? Like, I barely knew. I'm like, yeah. And I just knew that it was an avenue to meet other people that are like-minded, that he would bring, that are like-minded. And again, if I wouldn't have paid for a course, and I didn't need to pay for that course because I knew a lot of it, I have picked up some tips and tricks from them. But what I'm saying is, it's just surrounding yourself and supporting somebody else. If I didn't support him,
Yeah.
I'm getting more support. It's been tenfold what I've received back in what I've paid into it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have gotten so close to Brian. I mean, Brian, let's just share this real quick. How at first when I said I wanted to chat with you, you were like, "Well, why do you want to even interdict? Why do you want to even like Lynn? Like, why do you
She's
want
exaggerating a lot here.
At the show? There's just why should we be connected?" And so I shared that I'd been in the lingerie business and I dealt with bridals and bachelorette, but it was just cool because he didn't know where I was coming from. And so tell your version.
Well, she reaches out to me and man, I I don't want to frame this in any certain way because it's only how I see it, right? But
How
it's
you
like,
saw
hey,
it. How you
I
saw it.
saw it. So,
Saw.
hey, I'm from Wisconsin, not Long Island, okay?
Just,
Or to those that don't know, Canada, because that's where Wisconsin is located close to. Okay, so she reached out to me on private messenger, and it was something to the degree of like, "Hey, we're in this Grow Live course together, and we should get to know each other." Like, okay, okay, and then let's talk about it, right? And I didn't know why or whatever, and we just started harmonizing and talking, and here we are. So.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know. It was just like, I think he thought it, and I said it out loud. I said, "I think we should do a show together." And I was just saying that. He goes, "Yeah, we should." And I'm like, we do?"
It's like, oh no, he ain't gonna agree to this, and oh crap, now I'm accountable.
I'm like, yeah, yeah.
So it was for me, it's like, what is the intention? Absolutely, Sandra, 100%. Be transparent. Like when she reached out to me, it's like, okay, I didn't know if it's like, hey, I keep seeing you online, what's your deal, whatever. But no, it just fell into place. And then how we are as people by being very transparent upfront, no BS, no sugarcoating. That's her style. That's my style. And when you blend those two together, it just works.
And I got to tell you, I had no idea that we'd end up talking about having a show. I just figured I'd have you on my show so we could talk about weddings and bridal stuff, and stuff like that. But it's just like we were talking, and I was like, we should do a show. Like,
now, the funny part about that is that we haven't talked about bridal or any of that weddings ever since we started. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, we will next month, I'm sure.
Yes, we will.
But
so go ahead.
I just love them. It's just energy. It's just energy. It's just.
So let's move to final thoughts. I mean, we could talk for a long time, as everybody knows, because we do it behind, we do it off screen after the show's done. So I want to touch, excuse me, one more thing about this, and then we'll move to final thoughts, is that when you look at vulnerability and transparency, look at it from a standpoint of where you are mentally, right? Where you are mentally. Are you stuck more than you're actually in action? Is a better way than maybe looking at it like, oh, I don't know where I'm vulnerable or where I'm transparent. Where do you feel? Do you feel like you're tackling the world and getting done with the things you want, or that you're stuck and you don't know, you don't have a path, right? Might be another way to look at it. And getting in motion and, those kinds of things will, once you know where you are, then you know where you can start to move, right? But if you're not aware of where you are, and we're bouncing back and forth, right? Transparency or vulnerability at all times. But for me personally, I want to be in the transparency realm as much as I can, because the more, Lynn is a talker. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah, but then when you really get to know me, then chill out. I actually enjoy the energy and not talk, believe it or not.
You give her some wine and strawberries, see what happens. So that was New Year's Eve and she had a good time. So let's move to final thoughts. What are your final thoughts, and put a bow on this topic today?
The final thought is that when you allow to be vulnerable and be transparent, you never you never need to remember what you weren't, but what you are.
Right. Wow. I'm dropping my pen. Wow. Pen drop. So, and my final thought is that it was something that goes back to when I was in theater school. One of my instructors said to me is that you need to be uncomfortable where you're normally comfortable. So your whole life exists where you're constantly uncomfortable. Really make that your norm, right? So you're always doing bigger and better things. You're never staying put in the comfort, the no risk taking, and all of that. So keep pushing, keep putting yourself in a comfortable space. Eventually that'll become second nature, that's where you're, compared to anybody else that's not getting out of their comfort zone, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of them because that's your new comfort zone. So,
Right.
and Heather said, I used to be stuck in action, but this year I've been doing things to move forward and doing things 100. Great. Heather. That's what you need to keep on doing.
I love it. Well, we're honored that you were here, Sandy,
Yes.
Tracy, everybody. All I've got to say is that I realize even in this spot of talking and feeling more comfortable with Brian, we are going to be pushing the limits and going out of our comfort zone all the time, because he and I we cannot just stay in the kiddie pool. We can't just stay there. We're going to move up, and we're just grateful that you're here to see that and do that with us, because all these little defeats, I feel blessed to have all this interaction with Sandy and Tracy and Heather, and we're going to all fly together in our own different formation, and it's going to be harmonic because we can all relate. So you guys have a great one, and we'll see you on Monday. Or no, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Friday, Lynn. Come on.
Yes. Okay. I'm just excited because if Monday we're going to try to take the show interesting. So, okay.